The Forum at 8 with Xolani Gwala.
It is 8 minutes after 8. Welcome to the Forum at 8 here on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader. Well, Gauteng police telling us that there has been a notable increase in the number of reported cases involving alleged satanic ritual killings. The latest incident involves a 14-year-old boy accused of killing 3 of his family members. Now, the teenager apparently said an unusual prayer before midnight last Thursday in what may be a satanic ritual. Early this year, a learner, Sefularo, was stabbed to death in an alleged satanic ritual in Randfontein on the West Rand. The killers then sucked Giamo's blood. But what is Satanism, and is it really on the rise in this country? That is the discussion here on the Forum at 8 this morning on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader. Your thoughts then? At gwalax@sabc.co.za. That's my email address, gwalax@sabc.co.za. I'll be taking SMSs at 34701, 34701. I've already got a couple of emails, in fact. Maybe let me just read one here. It came through from, who is this? It comes from Port Elizabeth. Somebody says, satanic practices and witchcraft are of the same evil. Both are anti-God and are serving Satan. Both use blood and body parts. Both kill by spells and murder. Both thrive in the absence of active Christian religious instruction, and particularly anti-Christ. Satanists are anti-Jesus as a person. It is a dark, secretive sect of people who worship Satan and belong to underground in every city throughout South Africa. It is highly structured with high priests and sacrifices of animals and humans. It is ruled by fear and power over people and a devotion to Satan by such sacrifices. That is M. Skuman. Let me find out from my guest then, Adele Neverling, an expert on Satanism, here with me in the studio. Adele, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Is this true what this person is saying on email?
Partially, yes. It's very much alive. It's brewing, especially in South Africa.
Is it growing?
Very much. Yes.
What is the attraction?
I believe maybe in the past it was power. I don't really think the attraction is power. I think it's all about self-gratification, proving yourself, belonging to a group, feeling comfortable where you are, and maybe also it's not very much about accountability and taking responsibility, because many people that's involved in Satanism, they kind of can just let go when it comes to their desires and pleasures.
Tell me more. What does that mean?
A lot of sexual stuff happening. So it's like we don't have to have morals very much. And yeah, so I think that's what it's all about.
Right, let me introduce my other guest then, Eric, who is the head of the Church of Satan in South Africa. Eric, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Thank you. Eric, what are the basic principles of Satanism? What is it that guides Satanism?
Satanism is basically a religion of, call it self-development, in the sense that you try to develop the will in a person, usually in ourselves, which is not to be confused with willpower. That's a totally different subject. It's more psychological. The will is the ability to direct and influence events according to what you need to, or what you need the outcome to be. There is a religious aspect to it, there's a magical aspect to it, and there's a ritualistic aspect to it.
But why the blood, the darkness, secretiveness? Why is that? Why is it such a big part of this religion?
That is largely a misconception that blood is a major part of the religion. It actually plays a very, very small role in a way that it is normally portrayed, sacrifice and all of that. That is a complete misconception, partly fueled by popular media, fantasy, fiction, things like that. It doesn't happen in everyday life.
All right. Eric, your line is not very clear. We're going to try and call you back and put you on a much better line. But let me also introduce Colonel Henny Diache. He is the coordinator of the cult investigations here in Gauteng. Colonel Diache, good morning. Thank you. Adele has just pointed out that Satanism is growing in this country. Is that your thought? Is that your view as well?
I can't actually say it's growing, but the reported cases are in the increase, not only at SAFS, because I'm also a registered specialist counselor and work after hours as well with victims and survivors and also the families of people. And the number that is reported is increasing, yeah.
But Colonel, tell me, I know nothing about Satanism. Just tell me what you have discovered about Satanism. I know absolutely nothing.
Like many people say from the pagan organizations or the satanic side itself, it is, they allege that this is the dark side of Christianity. But Satanism is actually the worship of Satan as God and Master, and goes hand in hand with certain practices that they practice. Like any religion has certain practices. Satanism also practice certain practices, and some of the practices can be harmful to the community and to the members. But from South side, we are not interested in what they practice or what they believe or the path they follow. But if the practice lead to a crime that is defined in criminal law, the crime is investigated and the crime and not the religion prosecuted. So if one of the practices related to a crime, then the person will be prosecuted that commits the crime because he made a choice to commit the crime or to commit the act.
All right, Colonel, I'm going to come back to you in a minute. Adele, maybe, it's my first day. I walk in and you have recruited me. What will happen to me?
Yeah, you're kind of surprised that you were recruited, but they will ask you to give an oath, to make an oath to Satan, so that's very important. And all covens have their own ways of initiating a person. I don't want to give you all the details about, what the Church of Satan would usually do, because not all satanic practices are linked to the Church of Satan necessarily, but there will be certain demands. So you kind of have to lay down your life and give your entire life over to Satan, and different covens will ask different things from you.
And of course, the Colonel is talking about certain practices associated with Satanism. Just tell me about those practices. What is it that is expected of me?
Yeah, there's a lot of practices that's illegal. For example, hurting animals, sacrificing animals or torturing animals. And it's all about releasing more trauma and the powers that... let me first say that, remember that Satanism is a religion and it's spiritual. And the effects that we see in South Africa is all the physical effects of the things that people do. But everything that they do are linked to spiritual aspects. So if there is a sacrifice, a blood sacrifice, for example, you can only sacrifice something with blood. So it would either be animal and to a certain extent human. So there must be blood sacrifices, and that is like one of the biggest spiritual significances in any satanic cult. And so they would definitely look at those things.
Now, you spoke about, I'd be surprised if I'm recruited. How does the recruitment process happen?
Well, usually they won't just walk up to you in the mall and recruit you. What we see in South Africa is like the bottom people doing things, or I would rather say stupid things, like killing an entire family and then blame Satan for it. So we can't necessarily say that someone who has committed a murder and claimed that they was involved in Satanism, that they were really involved in Satanism, but there is a satanic influence there. And that person, I believe that recruitment starts spiritually first. People will experience certain things, and by the time someone walks up to them, and it would usually not be someone in a black cloak. We have all these expectations and visions and ideas about Satanism, and it's not the way people see it. So it's not going to be someone who walks up to you that wears black. It will probably be someone that you trust. It's I kind of want to compare it with, if I may, with pedophilia, where we never expect that person to be a pedophile and to molest a child. So when someone befriended you or befriend you, it will be someone that you can seemingly trust and someone that you would like to spend time with, and it just develops from there.
Which again goes back to the issue of secrecy, that there's a lot of secrecy involved. You do not know who is a Satanist and who is not.
I agree.
But why?
with you.
Is it part of the religion that there should be that?
Definitely. I mean, if I know that there's a house on the corner street here and it's a satanic church, how many people will actually go there and pray against them and stand up against them? Where they're way more powerful spiritually to be hidden because they have to do their work than to expose themselves.
But where do they gather? I mean, there are churches for other churches, for other religions and so on. There are mosques, there are all sorts of things. But how do the Satanists gather? At
the houses of the members, usually very influential members. They would usually get together there. And then there was a stage in 1991 when I was still involved in Satanism in the little Free State dorpie of Parijs. And there were 9 satanic churches there, physical churches, when I was there. So I could tell you exactly in this street, this number, there's a church. You go down this other street, there's another church. So it was open. You just know what to look for.
But you see, that's also a very interesting thing because you were involved for about 18 years. And you now reformed, so to speak.
I'm reformed.
What happened?
I met the spiritual opposition of Satanism, which is Jesus Christ.
How?
I had an experience actually on a satanic altar, and where I experienced God, and then very much, I think about 3 years after that, I was the satanic church gave me, I was actually supposed to go and kill Pastor Mark Bredenkamp and assassinate him and sacrifice him, and I couldn't kill him that night because of all the influences and his protection, and then I ended up kidnapping his son, and I wanted to sacrifice his 8-year-old child, and he just, stopped everything, and the child was miraculously saved.
Wait, you're confusing me. Where did the instruction come from?
From our coven. From our church, the church that I was involved in at that
gives you an
stage.
instruction.
That's right.
You've got to go and sacrifice that person.
You see, that man was and is on every assassination list, in every coven. So, I mean, everyone wanted him dead.
Why?
Because he was a threat to the kingdom of darkness. He would go and take children of the satanic altar while they were busy with a sacrifice, and he irritated them. So they just wanted him to be dead, and I was the one that was supposed to assassinate him.
He was a priest in the same church?
A pastor in the Christian church.
Oh, in the Christian church.
That's right.
So does that happen a lot?
Very much.
Where the person to be sacrificed is from outside?
Yeah, definitely it can happen because they don't have a suitable sacrifice within the coven or a suitable offer in the coven, and then they have to either find someone from outside or they will have someone from the inside. How does that happen? You get girls, they are called breeders. They breed for the coven. They have babies. They're breeders. So they would the babies would be terminated either from very early in the pregnancy. It all depends on the nature of the sacrifice, or they'll wait until the baby's born. And sometimes these children will grow up within a coven. Remember, we talk about people here with a lot of power, with a lot of expertise. They have the infrastructure and they can do it.
So you were supposed to sacrifice this pastor?
Yes.
And you couldn't?
Yes.
Because
there were things protecting me. Remember I said that, or protecting him. Remember I said that this is a spiritual religion. Mm-hmm. It's not so much about the physical. And I would see spiritual forces, which was not on my side at that time, which was Satanism and dark and demons. Mm-hmm. I could see angels and all the other things that goes with Christianity, if I'm allowed to say that. Mm-hmm. And that's what stopped me. And the boy I kidnapped.
Yeah, you kidnapped his boy.
Yes, and he kept on while I was standing above him with a dagger, ready to put this dagger in his heart, and I just couldn't move, for 4.5 hours, stand there above him, and he kept on repeating Ephesians 6, which is the armor of God, if you know the Bible, and I couldn't kill this boy for 4.5 hours. And then finally his dad, found us, and a lot of other people, because there was hundreds of people who found us.
So you had a dagger over this boy?
Yes.
8-year-old boy, ready to kill him?
For 4.5 hours.
For 4.5 hours. Was there anyone around you?
No, it was just us.
Just the two of you?
Just the two of us. And if it succeeded, I would have been one of the headline people claiming that it was Satanism, and other people telling South Africa that it there weren't anything like that.
Was it the first time you had to sacrifice someone?
It was the first time I had to, no, definitely not sacrifice someone, but it was my first time that I had to go, and that was my first assassination attempt. It failed.
But have you witnessed an assassination?
Definitely. And a lot of other sacrifices.
What kind?
Blood sacrifices. We tend to call blood sacrifices or abortions blood sacrifices, where we are supposed to give, and that's also killing, whether it's a born person or not. And then I was also involved in a few killings of babies, and I know this sounds terrible. I was investigated by the police many times before, so I've been there, done that. No one can threaten me with my past anymore.
Eric, so that's how it happens, eh?
What I can gather from what the lady has just said, the form of occultism that she was into is more related to black magic than what it is to Satanism as such. I'm actually sitting here with a copy of the Bible open in front of me, where it says on the choice of human sacrifice. And it says here, the fact of the matter is that if the practitioner is a real practitioner, he will be able to release the force from his own body instead of taking that from a victim. Meaning that, as he said correctly, that we do deal with essences and powers and spirits. Yes, blood does play a very large role. It's usually menstrual blood, not blood taken from a victim. There's only one ritual as such.
Wait. So it's usually blood from?
It's usually menstrual blood. It's also called the blood of the moon for those of a more occultic bent. That is the blood that is used. There is one ritual called the Rising of the Phoenix, which calls for it. I'm sitting with it open in front of me, where it says the practitioner will cut his own left breast. The cut will not be longer than 3 centimeters. Now, if that is what we specify, I don't see where she comes up on sacrificing babies and stuff like that.
Have you ever, Eric, let me ask you a specific question. Have you ever sacrificed a human being, Eric?
No, dude, I haven't.
You have never? Have you ever seen a human being sacrificed, Eric?
No, we don't allow it. If something like that happens, you're out of the church right there.
If something like this, but you've heard of it in other churches?
Not in other churches. I've heard of it in very demented persons, yes.
Demented persons who are part of this satanic ritual?
No, if it's part of the satanic ritual, it will not happen.
Right, let me take a break. We'll be back. We'll talk more about this.
Corruption eats away at your piece of the cake. One slice at a time. Let's report corruption. SMS the word bribe and your tip-off to 45142 or visit corruptionwatch.org.za and use our online reporting tool. SMS costs 1 rand. This message is brought to you by Corruption Watch.
Right, well, the discussion continues about Satanism. Let me just make reference again, and I'm going to come back to you, Adele, in a minute. In fact, maybe I should ask you these questions a bit, because I made reference to a number of incidents that have been reported. There's this 14-year-old boy now accused of killing 3 of his family members. But also there's the Kiamo incident where she was stabbed and her blood was sucked. Is that a normal practice?
It is a normal practice, but I want to kind of make a distinction where I've seen it a lot in the with African children, where the sucking of blood and witchcraft and Satanism goes hand in hand. Not so much. I think it happens maybe in a different level when it comes to your standard Western covens. But it's generally the same principle. Blood is very important. So they will just maybe in African covens or witchcraft or Satanism, the sucking of blood, and like they would do it obviously. They would like cut and suck the blood, and then there's also that's something totally different, but I'm just putting it out there. You also get something like a vampire cult, which is also, but that's only blood driven, and that's something totally different. But it's as if these things are all, connected and overlap.
There's a lot of darkness.
There's a lot of darkness. That's right.
So you call them convents.
Oh, that's right.
But is there a difference between convents and cults?
Yes, definitely. Cults are like different, can I say religions within this, under this umbrella. So it's different parts or segments of it, and some of them are more on the lighter spectrum and others are more on the darker spectrum. So it's different sections and different belief structures, maybe, if that's the way to explain it. Where a coven is like, we get, if I may use the example of churches in South Africa, Christian churches, you get like all of these different churches, and this one does that and this one does that. But covens are like all these different churches of Satan, or no, not churches of Satan, but different groups coming together in the name of Satan, or satanic churches.
Eric, again, let me go back to the issue of recruitment. How do you recruit? If you recruit at all?
We don't actively recruit at all. We hold to a rule that the person, when he is ready to be contacted, will rock up in the right place at the right time.
When he's ready to be contacted by who?
Well, look, if you have a person of a certain mind bent that wants to know more about a certain thing, you will tend to contact or get in touch with people with the right mind. And this forms a network in the end. One knows another person, and eventually you get to a more knowledgeable person that leads you to a new network, and eventually you rock up, let's say, for instance, in touch with the Church of Satan, or one of the derivatives thereof. But Eric, we don't actively go out and recruit. We don't hang out in nightclubs like what is normally portrayed.
Or do you?
With drugs and what have you.
Okay, because there's that association: drugs, nightclubs, darkness, and so on. But here's the question: is there a lot of illegality going on? And I say this because even yourself want to remain anonymous. If there is no illegality, why this anonymity?
Anonymity, because of the call it the aura attached to the whole system. People don't normally have the information to be able to say, well, this guy is a black magician or a sorcerer, or he's a Satanist. And there's a huge difference between being a Satanist in the perfect sense of the word and what is being portrayed even now on the radio. What I hear is largely based on, it's very old, very much media hype type stuff.
But Adele was a Satanist for 18 years.
I've been one for 35.
And you say you've never witnessed some of the things that Adele has?
No, I know that it's been linked in certain ways. I would like to explain to me, or I would like us to explain to me, since when an axe is a ritual murder weapon. That does not happen. It is not satanic. The footage that comes from that specific case, a three-pointed star, that is not a satanic symbol. There was no death mark. Where does all of this come from? How does it tie in? It is not satanic.
All right.
In the media, that is starting to get up on our notice. It's got nothing to do with us.
You say it's got nothing to do. Adele, you want to respond quickly?
Yes, I really want to. I think that what he's saying, according to his knowledge and the way that they practice, that's not how they do it. And I'm not at the Church of Satan right now, so I can't tell you how they do their rituals. But and I'm also not confirming that what happened with this specific ritual that he's referring to, that is what happened. But that child or whoever participated in that ritual was probably involved in a cult where they, or in a coven where the instructions for that ritual was for this tool and this triangle or whatever. So you can have different covens with different ways of doing different rituals. That's very, very possible. Just because everything didn't happen exactly to what Eric explained doesn't mean that there weren't any satanic things happening or that the ritual weren't valid.
Okay, we'll come back. Yeah, Eric?
Just quickly. Being active in the specific branch is one of the things I do. I'm also involved in the very, very high ceremonial magic in 6 different groups. I'm part of the Order of the Ram, I'm part of the Brotherhood of the Ram, I'm part of the Temple of Set, which is a particularly nasty form of the whole religion. Okay? Further than that, I'm also the head of the Gnostic Church in South Africa. I hold a couple of degrees. All right? And I'm not one-sided in this.
Okay. Right, Eric, just hold your thoughts there. Adele, of course, has got a lot to say about what you've just said now, but I'll also open the lines a little later on 0891 10428. We're seeking to understand Satanism and whether or not it is on the rise in South Africa. It is quite important because, again, the issue is you never know. Maybe your children are, maybe your parents are, maybe your family is. So what is it? How do you know it? What are the characteristics and what drives it? And my guest will give us clarity on some of those matters. But let's take your news update now with Vabakshni Chetty at this time here on SAFM. And of course, this morning we're talking about Satanism. Gauteng police have already said that there is a notable increase in the number of reported cases involving alleged satanic rituals. Remember my guest on the program this morning, Eric. He is the head of the Church of Satan in South Africa. Colonel Henny de Jache, coordinator of the cult investigations here in Gauteng, as well as Adele Neveling here with me. She's an expert on Satanism. She's a reformed Satanist and was a Satanist for 18 years. Let me go back to Eric before the news headlines. Eric, you had pointed out that you with the Brotherhood of the Ram, you with the Temple of the Seth, you're also the head of the agnostic something.
Of the Gnostic Church. Not agnostic. The Gnostic Church.
Okay. All right. Clearly you're very much involved here. But how old are you?
I'm turning 42.
You're turning 42. And you've been involved for 35 years, you said?
That's it.
So you were involved at 7?
I got interested in round about when I was 7. I grew up very Protestant, started asking questions, and the Germany could not answer me at the time. I started reading, asking questions, and the more questions I asked, the more questions I got. And that eventually developed into me becoming basically every type of religion that there is.
Eric, sorry, I'm missing I'm not understanding here. You're saying that at 7 you asked questions and decided all on your own that answers are with Satanism?
No, not at 7. I've been involved with the occult for 35 years altogether. All right. I only took up the degree of exorcism when I was 29. Before that, whatever leads up to it, that is all part of the same system. You can't say that Satanism is this and Satanism is that. There are various forms of it. There are various groups of it. And you need to work your way out until you get to the one that works the best for you.
But as the head of the Church of Satan then in South Africa, firstly, do you even know how many members you have?
It ranges. Like you said before, there is a certain amount of secrecy. It goes up to as much. In Gauteng, they reckon anywhere between 35 and 70,000 active members.
35 and 70,000?
Yeah, in our church specifically, I know about 25,000 for an old branch of it. That is in Gauteng. I'm not sure about what falls under the other 12 jurisdictions. There are 13 jurisdictions in South Africa.
And in the Church of Satan, does it incorporate the others, like the Brotherhood of the Ram, the Temple of the Seth, and so on, or is that separate from the Church of Satan?
They are separate, but they work with us. We've got very close ties with them. That is also what I am involved with most of the other groups. You can liken it to a system of Freemasonry where you can be a brother of one lodge, but you can be a brother of many lodges at the same time. And we hold to the same system.
Now, the involvement of different cults and so on, I suppose, opens up Satanism to all manner of practices, including what Adele was talking about earlier on, murders and so on.
Murder is not part of what we do. When you move into that area, you are dealing with people that are misunderstanding, facing And then usually they do manage to set up a group, which they then go and call a coven. And they pretty much do their own thing, and they never come onto the radar. We know of a couple of such groups, especially in Johannesburg, but they are not part of Satanism. They are classified as black magicians or normal occultists or whatever. And unfortunately, some of these people are very, very much screwed up, and they tend to prey on other people, like was mentioned, to do their dirty work for them. That is, however, not part of Satan or Satanism.
Adele?
Yes, it's still... Yes, I'm here.
I'm coming to you, Kenel, in a minute.
It's still the worship of Satan. Whether you're in this, you can't say that those people in that church doesn't worship God because they don't do it exactly the same way I do. So he's just confirming it. Actually, he says that he doesn't have control of all, or doesn't know of every, all the people that's involved, all the different covens. That's true, and the Church of Satan can't. Well, I know they don't try to control all these churches or oversee, but they just can't oversee all the covens, and they will sacrifice. And I don't want to just blame them and say, but they do these things. But I know it's being done. Definitely.
Kenel, you've listened to my two other guests about this. Can you confirm the information that's coming through? Is that your experience and information as well about some of the things involved in Satanism?
Kalani, thanks. I want to come back to what Eric said about the scene that was under question. Firstly, no signs was disclosed to the media or anything, so you can't actually say what was on the scene. And he mentioned that there was no death mark, so it means that if there was a death mark, then the killing could be related to the satanic movement, but I cannot discuss this case further. What's very strange for me, to be a part of BOR or Brotherhood of Ram, you must be a generational Satanist, and they are handpicked and hand-chosen if they were in a generation or a few generations in the satanic movement. So his stories doesn't correspond. And to start on 7 and asking questions, yeah, but I'm not here to attack the religion of Satanism. What bothers me is that I agree with what Adele said, and it is in the increasing, and for the last 15 years, I'm working with problems like this, or cult-related of harmful religious practice problems, and everyone confirmed the same story, that there must be blood involved, there must be a killing, and to go up in things, there must be a killing. So it's time that every religion must admit its shortcomings and to help us to stop crime and to work on it.
Eric, do you want to talk about these things about the weapons, the sign that should have been on the body? I mean, under what circumstances would there be those kind of things then if you say there is no killing? So it means there is a killing.
There has been cases where there was killings. Like I say again, it was not sanctioned or even part of what we do in the church. All right. There are certain groups calling themselves Satanists. They do not claim affiliation with any other group, which is already something to be worried about. And they do have what they call a variation of a specific symbol, which they call the killing sign. I just want to respond to the Colonel, if I may quickly.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
With regards that not all the pictures were released to the media.
Yeah.
You should remember that we've got members running through from people that teach theology at university level. We've got Catholic priests, we've got Anglican priests, we've got Protestant dominees, MC dominees.
Wait.
We've got a couple of people inside of the police force as well. And
you're confusing me, Eric. You have Catholic priests who are your members?
Yes, sir.
And you have religious lecturers who are also your members and members of the police?
We've got members of the police, we've got members of the judiciary, we've got medical doctors, we've got students, we've got hippies, we've got Rastafarians, we've got people from every walk of life.
So you're suggesting that those are the people who would have then told you about this specific murder?
Anonymity is a big part of what we do. Let's put it like this. I know of certain things that are being investigated, which I'm not going to discuss on here, but which has also not been released to the media.
Colonel?
It is pertinent to that specific case.
Colonel?
Yes.
What do you say?
There is members in every walk of life, and there is members in SAPS as well, but it's not about the religion they practice, but again, if the member of SAPS review any evidence regarding a crime scene or commit a crime, I'll be personally onto him and I'll prosecute him. And the same, no one on that scene see the stuff, because I confiscate the books and everything, and it's still under lock and key in a safe place where it will be analyzed later. So I think this information is false. But again, I can't reveal much more about that case. And like I said, it's time that they must admit that there is something wrong, or persons is doing something wrong, either in the name of Satan or in the name of a Coven or one of the churches, but something is definitely wrong.
Right, let me take some calls here. Perhaps starting with some SMSs. What about the Order of the Freemasons? Says an SMS. Do they not share activities with Satanism?
Yes, they do, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Satan is the prince of darkness. That is why he wants to take as many people to hell as possible. Moira on SMS. There's another one, Fano Ngobo in Cape Town. What constitutes the entire philosophy or theology of Satanism? Eric, perhaps that's a question for you. We'll come back to it in a minute. How is Satan, how does it work with 666? Because I had that even in the food, there's also human blood, not all food. Edward in Witbank. Eric is a liar. He's practicing human sacrifice. Why did he hide his face on TV? The Bible says the devil is the father of liars. Imagine what would happen if Eric admit in national radio station that he took part in making human sacrifices. Police will be after him. That's Pastor Chester in Rustenburg. Let me take some calls here. Let me start with Solly in Durban. Hello, Solly.
Good morning, Pepe. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Pepe, I want to confirm that this thing does exist. I know a guy who's told me about stuff he's done. He does not eat meat. He eats only eggs, because he says if he eats meat, he's going to want blood. And he's talking about stories where he had a case and these people promised to help him win the case. He says he got a bail, he doesn't know how, but then he could not sacrifice somebody. Okay. And for that, they promised to send him back to jail. He's in jail right now, and he would not even mention the name of Jesus. I tried to get him to pray and mention the name of Jesus. He will not. Okay. This guy says, if he wants to get blood to sacrifice somebody, they have a code that they say, which I think is what the 13-year-old said. But I just want to say, okay, a question for Adele and Eric. Does Illuminati have, the organization Illuminati have anything to do with Satanism? Also to say to Eric, Jesus Christ is alive. The tail of Satan is not going to win this battle. Right, he's going to get you.
All right, Tolly in Durban. Let's take Lucky in Johannesburg. Hello, Lucky.
Hi, Colin. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Colin, for the very interesting and frightening topic. Look, I mean, that guy there, Eric, the first thing he doesn't reveal his name. The other time they're interviewing somebody on TV, he didn't want his face to be seen. Now, like you said, Tulan, there's a lot of secrecy here and lying. The other time there's a guy that converted from being a Satanist and became a Christian. He was saying, during his practice of Satanism, he actually had a house in one of the top places in Durban, Mhlanga Rock, driving an X5. That was during his fantasy, thing, kind of life. Yeah. But in reality, the liars, he's never going to confess to all these things that are being said, but we know people that have confessed to that have converted to Christianity. So he's going to continue lying there like he's lying now, and he's hiding his name. He must just tell us his name and everybody. I mean, why would you be a pastor and you hide yourself from...
Okay,
why
Lucky.
are you shy about what you do?
All right, thanks, Lucky in Johannesburg. I'll take more calls, 0891-104-208, 0891-104-208. I'll read you some emails as well. There's one from Faisal in Mayfair who says, in America recently, there was a Christian woman who drowned her 4 children in a bath, claiming that this was an instruction from God. The American court found this lady insane and sent her to a mental asylum. The question I would like to pose, based on the killing, based on this killing, is the action of the Prophet Abraham, who wanted to murder his children. Is Prophet Abraham action a Christian killing, a Satanist killing, or the action of the mad man? That's an SMS, I beg your pardon, an email from Faisal in Mayfair. There's another one from David Tunzi. What would the Muslim view concerning Satanism be? I'm not sure if any of my guests is in a position to respond to that. But Sam Ditsejo says, what is the difference between occultism and Satanism? Adele, maybe let's pick up from this particular one and then work backwards, because there are so many questions.
Okay, so a cult is not necessarily Satanism. Satanism is the worship of Satan. And anything else, where the person usually, it's more about self-gratification and your spiritual Satanism is a cult, but all cults are not Satanism. So usually in cults, when people get involved in cults, they are being isolated, and there are also certain things that they must do. For example, Freemasonry can be seen as a cult, but it's not
Illuminati.
That can be seen as a cult. There are many cults, but not all cults are worshipping Satan or involved in Satanism necessarily, but Satanism is a cult.
There was Solly in Durban talking about eating of meat. Do you confirm that people don't eat meat because they start craving blood?
There are certain aspects of Satanism where they go through fastings, so that's very important. But I personally don't like meat because of all the flesh I had to eat previously in my past, so I don't like that. But it's not because I get a craving for blood when I eat meat. It's just my own preference.
The flesh you ate in the past as part of Satanism, or
yes, part of rituals.
Part of rituals.
That's right.
How, in what way were you eating this flesh?
Which was either because of the sacrifices that we were involved in, or rituals. Like there is like a specific ritual, and like Eric, or unlike Eric, I'm not going to name all the names of these rituals, but there is like a communion ritual. For example, like okay, so there's all these opposite things in Satanism. So if, for example, blood is important in the Christian faith, then they will also use a lot of blood. Or so when it comes to the specific ritual of communion, there's also a ritual like that. So they would use flesh as the bread.
Which means what? You'll slaughter a sheep or something?
Yeah, or not a sheep, but yeah, we'll slaughter an animal, or I would have previously. And it all depends. I've had many instances where
What kind of an animal?
Actually, there's a lot of controversy around that, because scientifically people say it's impossible for you to drink cat's blood because it's so poisonous. But funny things can happen when you link to certain spiritual forces. So cats, very famous. The only reason why, it's not because cats are evil, or that because black cats are evil, but because they are so readily available.
So there are a lot of cats?
Cats, dogs. I've had instances where horses even. Well, it all depends on the size of the ritual.
So if there's going to be some congregation you're gathering on a particular, I don't know, do you gather on a Sunday or on a Thursday or on a Wednesday?
No, usually, I think different covens can gather at their own times that they plan on, gathering. But there are certain times of the year that's extremely important, and they will have special festivals over those times.
So then there would have to be a cat or a dog or whatever.
Or a sacrifice.
Just
a relevant sacrifice.
Oh, okay. So
prescribed sacrifice.
And that is on the basis of what? How do you prescribe it?
No, there are certain prescriptions for specific rituals. So you won't have a cat as a sacrifice during a major satanic event, like for example Halloween. You won't just slaughter a cat. The sacrifice must be bigger and even more powerful. So in some instances they require a female 20 years old. Some instances they want a male 33 years old for obvious reasons. or a cat, or it all depends. Not going into the finer detail, but well.
Eric, a lot of my emails, and I can read you those emails, SMSs, and so on. People are saying you're lying. That take off the mask. Tell us who you are and what your church represents.
Look, I got involved in this basically with even with the logo case, the guys connected this just. But it was done about this satanic ritual, which became off actually the trial. And that is where we decided to come out. It is not for me to defend the church. It is not for me to explain the church. I'm not here to teach you about the church. We came out to say what is not happening inside the Church of Satan. And murder is not happening inside of the Church of Satan. Whatever people else want to think about it, and that's up to them. I'm not here to give a crash course in the occult or in Satanism. One thing I would like to add is that in Satanism you do not worship Satan. There is no Satan in Satanism. If that gives you an idea of the level of where we are going to. I cannot sit here and compound 14, 15 different manuscripts into half an hour's worth of data. That's not possible. So I can't tell you what Satanism is all about. It's just too much an involved topic. The reason why I do not show my faith is part of one of the rules, and partly because there are certain people that I don't want to know that I am involved. Not yet. It might come later.
Do you have a family?
I do.
Wife and children?
Sorry?
Wife and children?
I don't have a wife or children, but I do have a family.
Do they know that you are the head of the Church of Satan?
And they know that I'm involved. They don't know the extent.
Why do you not inform them about the extent of your involvement?
Because the last time I did that, it had very, very nasty, call it a nasty outflow. And the family life for me is more important than splitting up your family over what we can call a nitty-gritty.
Are you suggesting that your family disapproves? Your family does not approve of your involvement in Satan?
No, they don't.
They don't approve?
No, they don't.
But I mean, if it is a good thing, then why do you not clarify matters for them? Why do you not tell them what exactly this whole thing is about?
Because the last time I did that, I was told, you are talking nonsense, believe in God and shut up. And I've been praying for you. Well, people have been praying for me for a number of years. I know one person has been praying for me for almost 20 years.
But do you consider yourself a rebel, somebody who's out to rebel against what society, what the mainstream society view on issues is?
No, not really. No, not really at all. I just don't agree with what being ended badly about.
Are you happy as a Satanist?
Much more happy than what I was when I was a Christian.
But that was 7 years. You were 7 years old, so you wouldn't quite know that.
That is open to speculation, my friend.
Right.
I'm also an ordained priest. Keep that in mind. I know more about the Catholic tenets, Krishma, dogma.
Wait, you're confusing me. Ordained priest of?
I'm an ordained priest.
Of what church?
Greek Orthodox.
Greek Orthodox?
Yes, I'm allowed to say the best now.
All right. I thank everybody for coming through. I really appreciate it. Eric, thank you very much for your time this morning. Also, I would like to thank Colonel Henny De Jager, who is the coordinator of the cult investigations in Gauteng, as well as Adele. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, what are these? I mean, I see you have. Are these just? All right. Okay. Because they are. But tattoos are a part of it. Hey, I see a lot of people who have tattoos.
No.
Oh, okay. Right. Adele, thank you very much. Adele Neveling, expert on Satanism, in the studio with me. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the program. Thank you to the team as well. Our team, Tlengi Mabaso, Misho Shandlale, Tracy Bumgarden, Zwagi Crew, senior producers Lungela Mabaso, and Zinad Abdul, technical producer Mark Preller today, foreign producers Ronald Piri and Jakes Mukoma, chief producer Buzi Lukoto, executive producers Busi Chane.